last corner and has saved the bloody best till last. It's Danny Kiriakou. Daddy, man, how
What's
are
good then,
you
boys?
doing, my brother? So good to see you.
It's good to see you guys, man. Yeah, as good as can be. But yeah, it's been interesting because I haven't really been paying attention to Spurs lately. But watching some of the streams and watching what people's comments are about the way things are going. It just feels like this is just the same thing that just happens every single year. For how many years has this been going on, right? It's like it's why to a point, right? I've kind of lost my all sense of motivation towards Spurs because it's just that the storybook is repeating itself over and over again.
Yep.
It's like the same cycle over and over again. There's no point wasting energy in it because it's like it's like we're now seeing the same thing repeating with Ange, but the difference with Ange is, well, I mean, he's kind of dug himself into his own grave to an extent, right? Because what he's done is he's been so stubborn in his tactics, right, that he's not even. I mean, you've seen him occasionally change his tactics, and one or two times it's worked, but he's not done it enough, and that's why there's massive problems, and his lack of wanting to change the players around, right, to rotate them, even to just to give some youngsters a go to kind of save from, well, to save our fitness a little bit. Because I mean, how many times we've seen the same team play over and over again, and like you said, so many people have said it, right? The players are just dropping like flies, and we've got another two players who have now long-term injuries again. So you've got Solanke and Johnson, right? Who, I mean, it just gets more funny and funny the more the time goes on. And I think it's just, for me, right, with Ange, I really don't care if he stays or go. I couldn't care less, to be honest with you, because what's the actual difference that's going to happen if what difference is it going to make if we get a different manager in? Because the same thing is going to happen, because there's always going to be the biggest problem at this club is the people who are running the club. That is it. It's always going to be the problem, because like you could. I mean, when I looked at this team at the beginning of the season, right, I wasn't even paying attention to the transfers in the summer, right? The first time in so many years. I mean, I remember when watching one of the games and I saw Odebert on the team, and I was like, when did we sign this geezer? I didn't even realize we signed him. I was like, and do you know, it was like, and when I saw him, I was like, it just stinks of another Tottenham signing, right? Where it's just another youngster, paid a lot of money for him. It's just unproven. And you looked at that team, right, and you think it's just a mid-table team. It really is, barring one or two players, right? Van der Ven, you could maybe push Romero in there and a few others, right? Son, I mean, he's getting worse and worse by the age, and you can see he's lost his pace now. So, and this season he's been absolutely shocking. But it's just laughable, because again, it's like there's a Postecoglou, right? In every single interview, he keeps blaming himself. A part of it is himself, but he refuses to blame the board. And do you know what? Personally, I've got a weird. If he does go, it wouldn't surprise me, right? Because it's the same way, the same kind of way Daniel Levy always acts when shit hits the fan, right? But there's a part of me that thinks he's maybe the only manager who's just he's not turning his attention to the board, right? And he's trying to keep the attention on him by saying, it's my fault, I take the blame, this is my fault. And maybe Daniel Levy likes the fact that he's just kind of like being the yes man that Daniel Levy wants. And this is the thing where, and the other thing I've got in my head, it could be that we don't see him sacked until the end of the season, if he's even sacked, right? Is that, just to play devil's advocate, do you not see it as a thing where, kind of like when Arsenal were going through their shit with Arteta, right? And every single Arsenal fan was calling for Arteta's head. I know he hasn't, he's won an FA Cup, but he has, let's be honest, he's got them to a much better place than where they were before he came into their club, right? He actually got them competing for the title, right? So you could argue and say, do you not think Daniel Levy's looking at that and thinking that's what I see my vision for Ange as, right? Even though we know as Tottenham fans that it's never going to happen, because he's never going to get the right backing that he needs, right? But at the same time, do you not think that the way he's trying to make the fans see it as is that that's what he wants them to see? because we all know. I mean, the people who really know what Daniel Levy's end game is, it's never to be ambitious on the football side of the club. It never is. It never will be. That's just how it is, right? And fans need to accept that reality. Unless they want to change it, they have to do something about it, right? Because it's never going to change. It's just literally as it is. Like, I think you both of you boys were saying earlier on how the Newcastle fans had to wait so many years to try and get Mike Ashley out. And if Tottenham fans really want to change something, it has to change with him, because he's not going to change his model, right, for anyone. Because let's be honest, right? Let's actually sit here and be honest. Next season, if we finish, say, I mean, I know that Carlos before was saying about how we probably won't get relegated. He's probably right? I think we won't get relegated. I think we're too good to be relegated. But we are in a relegation battle, like he said. I think we are not. We're close to it, right? Now, if you look at the end of the season, just say we finish 15th at the end of the season, right? What's going to change? Do you think the season ticket prices are going to go down? No. Do you think? Yeah, they'll probably go up, right? Do you think they'll sell out all the season tickets? Yes. So why would he change it? Why in earth would he change it if it's going to continue in that way, right? I'm actually. I mean, I haven't been once this season. I've got a season ticket, and I live in a different country now. I'm back in London, but for the minute, but I'm actually contemplating now not renewing my season ticket, because it's like, what's the point if we're going to keep seeing this same cycle over and over again? It's nothing's going to change, and fans are getting more annoyed. I mean, let's be honest, right? Who is actually going to come into this club, right, and actually want to manage this club? Because let's take it back to when Ange came into the club, right? Who was the manager that they really wanted to try and bring in? It was Arne Slot, right? They really wanted to bring Slot, and Slot said no, he didn't want to do it. And he obviously made the fucking smartest decision, because he's a smart man. Because how many managers now are looking at the Tottenham situation and seeing how Daniel Levy runs a club, right, and seeing how he treats the managers and how he backs them. I mean, he's got rid of two of the best managers in this time at the moment, or managers in terms of Conte and Mourinho and what they've won and stuff like that, right? He wasn't even. We weren't able to win anything under those managers, and they both capitulated. I mean, we sacked Jose Mourinho before a final, right? 5 days before a final, because of, well, I'm not going to get into that, but he done that, right? So when managers are looking at this, it's only going to be managers like Ange who feels like he's got really something to prove, and he's gonna abide by the rules of how the club runs, right? And that's the problem. I think even to an extent, Ange is probably biting his teeth inside and not telling everyone how he really feels, which is a shame for him, because in a way he's ruining his own reputation, and he's making himself look like an absolute fucking idiot, in my opinion. And with Ange, I think I think there are times with Ange, some of his football can be good. I just don't like that he doesn't adapt to a team when he needs to. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem,
and I haven't watched a lot of Tottenham this season, to be honest with you, right? When I have seen it, I've seen games where he's...
Danny, you're one
I've tried to stay away from it, to be honest with you. I've got enough on my plate as it is, but do you know, when I have seen some of the games, some of the good games and the bad games, in the good games you can see like that it's like when the players are up for it and everything is right and the players are fit, it can work really well, right? The tactics can work. We can demolish teams when we want to, but the problem is that we don't have enough. It's always going to be the depth as well. We don't have the quality in our team as a 25-man squad or 23-man squad, what you want to call it, to actually play this way consistently. That's the problem. We can't play it consistently.
You know what it is, Danny? I feel like Ange is unable to get these set of players, these set of players up for the usual games. You know, the Ipswiches, the Palaces, these kind of games. And I feel like
big time.
Where I don't know if he's a good motivational manager, because that's what his reputation was coming into the job, that he was really good man manager reputation. Getting his players up for these games, but it feels like the only games that we get up for the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the games in the Cup, Manchester United. But those games, they don't need a manager to get your motivations up for it. These games speak for itself, don't they? Like, the players get themselves up for these games. So, like, in terms of motivation, I don't think Ange is doing enough on that sense.
I don't think he is, but let's be honest, Ben, right? This all, to me, in my opinion, right? This comes down to the atmosphere at the club, right? Like when like we've seen in the documentaries, we've seen in interviews that Daniel Levy sits there with the players and eats as if he's their friends. They had this before, was it the last manager? They had that social group where they had like the players, a few players in the squad that were like kind of talking to Daniel Levy and talking to the manager and having this kind of communication between the players. And it's like Daniel Levy wants the Tottenham players to be his friend or something like this. And it's like the problem is what that does is it doesn't. There's no kind of structure or kind of boundaries in the club, right? In terms of ambition, in terms of what the club are actually striving for, because the problem is, it's like anything in life, right? If you don't have a goal, if you don't have something to strive for, then what's going to give you motivation? Really, honestly, what's going to give you motivation? Like, for example, your channel, you want to strive to make it better, so you're gonna put things in place to try and make it better and better every year you go on, right? It's like anything in life. Whatever it is you choose to do, you're always going to try and do things to try and make things better because you have a goal of where you would like to be. And then once you've achieved that goal, you want to try to get to the next goal. What are Tottenham's goals? Because the club never ever come out every season. They never come out and say what their goals are. All they say is we want to be competitive. All right, what is competitive? If we're striving
for 15, Danny, let's be real. We know what the goals are.
Of course, we know what the goals are, but it's like are the goals to be competitive, to play in the 15th position in the league? Then if that is what our goal is, then we're actually smashing it right now. So do you know what I mean?
Our goals is to make as much money as possible. The gentrification of the area of Tottenham, build hotels, build as much revenue as we possibly can, and just about maybe get into the top 4 if we're lucky. That's what our goals are.
It's pretty much, and the worst thing is, I just find it hilarious that when like I said, when I saw that team at the end of that window, right? I mean, even into the season after it started, and I saw it, it was just like, I was like, how are we going to finish in the top 10, like with this team? Because a few injuries, especially with the squad that we have, it's not good enough at all. But even with a few injuries, we were gonna get into a mess. And now we've got like half of our team are injured basically, and most of our first team players who play week in week out are injured, right? Most of them are. And then the ones we are using, we're using so much that they just run into the ground. And then you've got other players who are playing but are just out of form because of so many other reasons. And it's like all an absolute mess. And I don't really care if Ange stays or goes, because we all know what's going to happen. I've said this from the day that Ange walked in. I said that once Ange leaves, for me, I'm done anyway, right? Because it was my last straw to see if Tottenham were going to actually build a project, which I know they weren't, but it's just that false hope that all Spurs fans have inside them that it's never going to lead to anything, right?
Every 18 months we have it, Danny. Every
18 months. I mean, my feeling, right, was what's going to happen is Ange at some point will probably end up getting sacked, whether it's now or end of the season. If it's during the season, Mason will obviously come in, right? And then I think what will happen is Spurs will struggle to get a manager in, and then Mason will be made permanent manager. And I think that's what will happen, right? And I think that's where we are right now, personally. And I don't want to bring the bearer of bad news. I'm trying to be a bit more realistic, but it's just like I can't see anywhere. I can't see anywhere where we're in the next couple of years we're going to be on an upward trajectory with a project that we're actually trying to strive to actually win something or compete, or even just to compete at a higher level. Because the problem is that they keep going for the typical Spurs kind of philosophy is these young, like, hopeful players that we can maybe turn them into superstars and sell them on for a fee. And it's just, we've become that club again. I mean, and the thing is, we're not even buying players that we're spending way too much money on average players, in my opinion. And like, I mean, I know Solanke's all right, but 65 million is a lot of money for him. Brennan Johnson, 50 million there. It's 100 and something million pounds for two players who are average players. Let's be honest, right?
These are the players that are only willing to come to us because these are the players and the wages that we're
It's
only
true.
willing to spend.
That's another problem, Ben. That's another massive problem is that we have the money, but because of our stupid wage structure, players don't want to come because I mean we've got other clubs at Aston Villa that have got a bigger wage structure than us, and they can offer players more money, and it's just it's like how do you expect to even compete with those teams, right? If you can't even offer them the same wages as those teams, and it's just it's ridiculous. And then you've got issues where players like Son are getting older, and you haven't replaced him. You haven't even probably thought about how you're going to replace him, and it's ridiculous. Honestly, it's actually a laughing joke, to be honest. Tottenham Hotspur is a joke. It is what it is. But it's like I can't see where they go from here, to be honest. And it's just we might as well film it because it could be end up being a series if we end up getting relegated. That'd be a funny story. Imagine if we end up getting relegated.
Another revenue stream for Daniel Levy. Just film the everyday life as a documentary every day for Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh, it'd be hilarious, man.
Did you ever watch Dream Team back in the day?
What, the one with the Newcastle with
No, there was a Sky One sitcom on like a football team called Harchester United.
No, I don't think I did.
Did you watch that? Daniel Levy should do that on Tottenham and get him some extra revenue streams.
Anything he can get his hands on to turn it into cash, he'll do it. That's his motto. But yeah, I mean.
And Danny, meanwhile, Danny, he's got this reputation as a good businessman. And I was saying to Ben earlier, no good businessman signs any type of contract that brings Ndombele to the club for £60 million. So all this about him being a good businessman as well. It's all an illusion
Timo
as
Werner
well. Timo Werner twice.
Yeah,
it's all an illusion.
A lot of it is. It's always been like that. I mean, like when I was listening to some of the podcasts and when they're talking about like Jory mentioned it with Kolo Muani, I was laughing my head off, and I saw certain fans actually thinking that we're going to get someone like him in. Like I mean, come on, we signed Brennan Johnson and like Timo Werner on loan twice, and we're going to sign Kolo Muani. Like, what are you living in? Like, honestly, like that's our level with Timo Werner. That is where we are, right? And do you know what? That's where also Ange has to take blame as well, because for him to accept those type of players shows. It shows as well to us that he is being that yes man that a lot of us thought he would be, right? And that's the problem. We can't have that kind of. The problem is it's like anyone who goes against what the club and what the board, how they want to run the club, they end up getting sacked. Or they end up. There's always friction. So they can't. They can't. What do you call it? Just. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess. It's
just a shit show, man. Another day in the life of Tottenham Hotspur.
It is, man.
You know what's got me worried, yeah? You've come on here, said we're not going to get relegated. The guy before that said we're not going to get relegated. I am seriously worried, Danny, now. I am seriously worried, mate.
Do you know, the only way that I reckon we could get into a relegation battle is if we get more and more injuries and we end up having to use like literally a whole squad, a whole first team full of youngsters. But then again, I don't know. But it might be, but it could be a good thing because those youngsters actually might put in a better performance, or at least actually want to try to win a game of football and play football than what we're seeing right now.
You saw it in pre-season. Mikey Moore came on, and he was a level above anyone else that we saw today. I mean, you're looking at these 17-year-olds. Bergvall, he's been a level above anyone. Archie Gray has been a level above anyone. And these are the same guys that were stepping for us in pre-season. The guys, the season pros like the Bissoumas and these kind of guys, they're nowhere to be seen.
Don't get me started on that.
Nowhere to be seen. Timo Werner, Timo Werner on 160 grand a week. We talk about the wage structure, but we're willing to give this guy 160 grand a week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's madness. And do you think, hand on heart, we were 3-0 down to Everton today, who haven't scored a goal in God knows how long, do you think we'll beat Leicester at home in our next game?
Probably not. No, probably not.
If we don't beat Leicester, then who's to say that we can't be embroiled in the proper relegation scrap?
You're probably right. Yeah, it's true. I mean, the way we're going at the moment, we can't seem to win a game to save our lives, and we just about beat like Tamworth when we were in the FA Cup, and that was I mean, I actually fell asleep in that game. I was so bored. It was actually embarrassing. I was literally lying down, and I was like, "This is dead." It was like I'm falling asleep. It was so boring. And when I woke up, I was like, "Oh, we actually won on was penalties or no extra time, wasn't it?" Yeah. And then I was like, oh, we actually had to take Tamworth to extra time to actually beat them, and we actually had to bring on some of the first team players to actually win the game. I mean, that's embarrassing in itself. So I mean, yeah, look, it's just there's the level. It's just there's so many problems at this club, and there's been it like for a long time. And to be honest with you, if Ange does get sacked, all it just takes away the limelight from Daniel Levy, and it just focuses back onto the manager. And then we're going to go through the whole thing with fans, and fans are going to want to see how the manager performs. Is he going to get back? It's going to be that whole cycle again, and it's just never going to end because it just takes away from where the real problem lies, and that is with the way the club run the club. That is as simple as that. And yeah, they can make money, but we're supposed to be a football club, right? The main aim of an elite sports football club is to compete at the highest level and to try and be competitive to win trophies if you can, right? And we're not obviously. And the thing is, I get annoyed when people say like we don't have the money to do that because we can't. We're not like the Arsenals or the Man Cities, but if we wanted to, we could spend the money. We do have the money to spend, and we do have the money to put more money in towards the wage structure. But they just choose not to do it. And when they do choose, they choose completely the wrong players. And it's just, I mean, to get Timo Werner on loan again, it just, to me, when I saw that there's no ambition for this club. Like that was, I think that's when I started to really lose interest. When I saw Timo Werner sign again, I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
It was criminal.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see how this plays out. I mean, but do you boys think Andrew's going to get sacked, or do you think they're gonna? You think they're going to get sacked? When do you think he's going to get sacked?
I think he's done. I think by tomorrow we're already starting the merry-go-round again, Danny. To be honest with you.
Do you know? I'm gonna put my neck out in line. I mean, I'm gonna say he's gonna stay till the end of the season.
Wow.
I feel like it's going to be after the Liverpool or Aston Villa game in the Cup. I think once we're out of the Cups, I think there's no reason, if the results keep carrying on, which they will, for him to stay.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. Either way, wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. The way this club is run, it's gonna. I think what we just got to hope for now is just hope that no more players get injured, because the more and more injuries we get, I mean, actually, to be honest, the more injuries we get, we actually might be able to see some of the youngsters play, and we actually might get a bit more fight in the football. So it could work out better for us. But yeah, it's just a mess at the moment with this club.
Absolutely.
We have to wait and see what happens.
Danny, such a pleasure to see you today, my friend.
Yeah, nice to see you boys. Nice to see you boys as well.